Candlepin Stars and Strikes is brought to you by the Thompson family of dealerships in Nashua, New Hampshire, and by Tri-State Megabucks and the New Hampshire State Lottery, helping New Hampshire schools one ticket at a time. WNDS Sports presents New England's favorite bowling show. From Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. Featuring the best bowlers from around the region. Candlepin Stars and Strikes. And now your hosts, Dick Lutz and Mike Moore.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome into another edition of Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV from Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. Dick Lutz with Mike Moore, and it is week 2 of our second ladder series of the season, and Chris Sargent came from behind with a big 400 triple win last week.
Yeah, Eric Pelletier started out really strong with a 141 game and then kind of faded after that, but a young 20-year-old, very confident man. To quote Arnold Schwarzenegger, I will be back.
He said he'll be back. We'll keep our eyes open for that, but Chris Sargent has a tough opponent this week, and let's meet our bowlers. Last week's winner, 411 to 359 over Eric Pelletier. From Haverhill, Massachusetts, let's say hi to Chris Sargent.
You probably know his stats by heart, but I'll give them to you anyway. 132 is his average. High single 213. He's had a handful of other games well over 200. High triple 530, bowling out of St. Joe's in Haverhill, Mass.
And Chris rolled a 667 in the roll-off to earn the number 4 seed. He'll be taking on our number 3 seed this week. From Southbridge, Massachusetts, let's welcome Steve Renaud.
Yeah, it's been way too long since Steve was here, almost 3 years. Averaging 120. His high single is 191. High triple is 481. Bowls at a couple of different establishments, American Lanes in Southbridge and Munson Lanes in Munson.
Steve rolled a 668 in the roll-off to earn the number 3 seed. It's Chris Sargent and Steve Renaud. Before we get to this afternoon's match, we're going to digress for a moment, and I want to introduce to you one of the anchors from WNDS TV News Now. Let's welcome Sherry Lee Budrick. It's a great time to be a news reporter in the state of New Hampshire. The presidential primary is upon us, and WNDS News Now at 7 and 10 will have a lot of coverage of the primary.
That's absolutely right, Dick. I mean, we have such a talented crew, very energetic, and we're going to have people covering every campaign, getting every angle we can. So it's really going to be a fun season for us.
And WNDS has just recently added a 12 o'clock noon newscast.
That's true. Our new noon newscast is already showing a lot of popularity. Eric Shiner is anchoring that, and he's really kicked it off quite well.
Sherry Lee's a real bowling expert. She's going to be sitting in with us for the first string as well. We'll talk more about WNDS News Now and things happening at the station. But let's get to this afternoon's match. It's Chris Sargent and Steve Renaud when we come back to Leda Lanes in Nashua right after this on WNDS TV's Candlepin Stars and Strikes.
We began with 5 of the best bowlers in the world on this ladder series. We're down to 4 with Chris Sargent having eliminated Eric Pelletier last week. Now it's Steve Renaud with Bruno DeFeo and John Winchell in the wings, and it'll be Chris Sargent first to bowl here this afternoon at Leda Lanes in Nashua on WNDS TV's Candlepin Stars and Strikes. He starts off with a strike.
He had a big triple of 411 last week after a rather shaky 115 start. So he got progressively better each game.
Missed the head pin on that one. And we're joined at the table by Sherry Lee Budrick from WNDS TV's News Now. And Chris missed the spare. Now, you told me you did a little bowling over the years.
I did. Some people have tennis families, some people have golf families. We had a Candlepin bowling family, so every weekend we go out with Dad.
Where'd you bowl?
Bowmore Lanes in Milford, and sometimes Leda Lanes as well.
So this is not foreign territory to you at all.
Absolutely not.
Now Steve Renaud from Southbridge, Massachusetts.
Come on, Stevie, right off the bat here.
It's been 3 years since Steve's been on the show, November of 2000.
Hit it. All right. Take that one. Take another one.
So it's the 1, 2, 7, and 8 with some wood between the 2, 7, and the 8. Hits it right, should go.
Good beat. Stick. Come on, Stevie.
Were you a good bowler?
I could hold my own as a young girl. That is all I will say. No average talk here.
You never ask a woman her age or her bowling average, Dick.
I will say my youngest brother was a state champion one year. I think when he was 11.
Wow.
So.
Wow. What's his name?
Andy Budrick.
And where did he bowl out of? Do you remember?
What lanes?
He was also at a Bowlmore, and then I think the championship was held here.
Yeah, the state tournaments were run here in the spring, as my daughter was a 2-year champion, as a matter of fact, in her age group when she was 11. How old is your brother?
Now well, gosh, he's a freshman in college. He's now 18.
Okay. So this is pretty recent then.
7 years ago, by quick arithmetic.
You're good, Dick.
Here's Chris Sargent on lane 34. Where have your travels taken you as a news reporter?
Well, my first job was actually in northernmost Maine in Presque Isle. I was an anchor and reporter there, and then I moved south to Bangor, Maine, through there, Portland, Maine, and now I'm here, closer to home every time.
A lot of changes in the business since you began.
There are several changes, especially with everything going digital. That's something difficult for a lot of stations to keep up with.
Chris not converting the spare there. He had a 5-pin fill in his mark.
And Dick, how has television changed since you got it?
Well, they've gone to color.
So he's alternating open frames and marks on lanes 33 and 34.
There's a strike for Steve Renaud. Actually, we were talking about it, the changes in the business over the years and some of the language that's used and some of the things that are done on television and radio in 2003 weren't even thought about when I began in Steve Renaud in the strike, breaks up the split. Now looks for some extra pins. Got another spare opportunity right here. Looks easy, doesn't it? Doesn't
Looks like
it look
he was gonna
easy?
get it.
Huh? This game can be very humbling at times. And a 49 for Steve Renaud, a 5-pin lead for Chris Sargent. Primary candidates traipsing through the state.
Absolutely.
Keeps everybody hopping these days.
Seems like they are everywhere at all times, so sometimes it's difficult to keep up, but it's really interesting to hear what they all have to say and what they all have to say about each other sometimes.
And from a media standpoint, you'll get to spend some time with, you know, some of the network big shots as well. You'll get to rub shoulders with Tom Brokaw and things like that.
We're seeing a lot of everything happening in New Hampshire. As everyone knows, New Hampshire is quite a center for politics. So.
Well, Chris Sargent puts the strike inside the spare. He's red hot. When he gets on a roll, he doesn't want to stop. He wants to grab the ball and throw it down there as he's got a couple of marks in a row now. I think it's an exciting time to be a reporter in New Hampshire. When I was a news reporter back when I first began and the presidential candidates were coming in, I just found it a very exciting thing to be part of.
When you first began, is that in the days when things in TV were much different?
Well, Adlai Stevenson was running.
I was going to say Lincoln Douglas, but...
Abraham Lincoln? What?
Yeah.
It's great. You get to see all of the stars and all of the candidates, and it's just it's a very, very exciting time.
I think as a reporter, it's very easy to just look at things as another story and not realize we're actually talking to presidential candidates, and for that, I mean, it's a very fortunate thing, something that's really humbling.
Steve Renaud on lane 33. I tell the story of the time when I was a news reporter and I was interviewing one of the candidates at the very start of the primary. And at the end of the interview, the candidate pulled out a picture of himself, autographed it, and gave it to me. I took it and proceeded to file it in the circular file, and that turned out to be President Jimmy Carter.
Well,
You didn't save it?
Did you learn your lesson?
I learned my lesson.
There you go.
Steve Renaud in 8 box.
Falling behind very quickly now with back-to-back marks by Chris Sargent.
Chris Sargent looking for bonus money here. We get $50 for 3 marks in a row. We're talking with Shirley Lee Budrick, news anchor for WNDS TV News Now. And as we tape this show on Tuesday, the 14th of October, Shirley Lee is headed down to Fenway Park to watch the Red Sox and the Yankees. Chris Sargent with a great shot. 3 marks in a row for Chris Sargent. Watch it again. He made a great shot right there.
$50 bonus money to Chris Sargent.
Looking for more. Are you a Red Sox fan?
I am a very big Red Sox fan. I wish I'd gotten to more games this year, but with the news at 10 o'clock, 7 o'clock, I often miss them unless they're weekend games, but I did manage to get to, I guess this will be my 7th or 8th game this summer, so I guess that's pretty good, pretty good.
You saw Chris's reaction to the miss right there as he has to settle for a 10 box. He is one exciting bowler. When he gets wound up and on a roll, he is fun to watch. Now Steve Renaud. The Yankees have certainly provided a lot of excitement. By the time people watch this show, the series will be over. The World Series will be over, as a matter of fact. And here's hoping we've had a parade in Boston for the Red Sox.
I know. If I could predict the future, I wish I could.
You'd be working in Vegas. You wouldn't be here if that were the case.
The noon news we mentioned at the start with Eric Shiner is underway at WNDS, and Eric's a good kid, and I'm sure that'll do well.
Yes, he's been with the station since news began 5 years ago, and it's something that he's wanted to do, and he's just doing a great job with it, and our audience is responding to it. People are watching. In fact, since Jeff and I started in May as a new team for the 7 and 10 o'clock, we've seen a lot more viewers are coming to us, and we love it. We love to see that we're reaching people.
We ought to mention Jeff Bannon. We haven't mentioned him. Of course, you're a co-anchor at 7 and 10 every night. A veteran of the television wars as well. And doing a nice job. You both do a great job.
Thank you.
With Mike de Blasi and
Al
the
Caprillion.
incomparable Al Caprillion.
Can't forget Al.
Another mark for Chris Sargent.
Well, we'll take a look at the ratings for this show now that you're joining us today and see if you're dragging some more people into watch.
Well, I don't think so. I think you have to have a recurrence to affect ratings.
You may have to come back again.
I'd love to come back. This is great fun.
We ought to have a station bowling outing. Oh, look at that shot by Chris Sargent. Wow. Played the wood, played the angles. Watch it again. Perfect shot.
How about this, Dick? I can give you my Sox tickets. I'll stick here, and you can go on.
Oh, no, I could never do that, Shirley Lee.
About as much excitement, maybe.
He'll put a 7 in the mark and finish with 156 for Chris Sargent in the first string.
By the way, I'm okay with that arrangement, too.
I'll bet you are. I'll bet you are. Steve Renaud. Oh, look at that 7-pin. It danced and didn't go down. Oh, now the wood's getting in the way. He'd like to see that wood get out of there. It's going to roll and stop in a very, very tough spot.
And he got burned by the wood a little bit earlier on, a 4-pin on lane 33.
He made the spare. 2 marks in a row for Steve Renaud. Playing the angles. Game's not as easy as it looks.
No, it never is. I have to say it's a lot more fun watching it here than on the TV, though. I've been watching, I think, for the past 20 years, and it's exciting here.
It is. We've got a great crowd. Oh, he had a tough hit on the spare. He only puts 4 in the mark.
A really tough spare as well.
This would be a good one. The wood is set up to help him out. Got a shot at it. Not going to make it. He's at 116. And a 117 for Steve Renaud. And we say goodbye to Sherry Lee Budrick. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks very much for having me.
See you.
It was a pleasure.
WNDS TV News now at 7 and 10.
7 and 10.
Monday through Friday. And
That's
the new
right.
noon news at 12 noon with Eric Shiner.
Yes.
Great things happening at WNDS TV. Sherry Lee, nice to see you. We will come back with string number 2 right after this on WNDS TV's Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Steve Renaud will be first to bowl, string number 2. He trails Chris Sargent by 39 pins after 156 to 117. Renaud right on the head pin, but not much to show for it. Tough shot to come up. The 3 and the 6 on the right, the 4 and the 7 on the left. Takes the 2 on the right.
He's got one WCBC title to his credit. 39 years of age, married to Kathy for 13 years. He's got 3 children.
And he has an interesting project that he's working on.
Yes.
A cable TV show for young bowlers in central Massachusetts. If you'd like to be part of our program every week, we have the bonus ball at the end of the show where we'll pull a card with a number, and Steve Renaud with a strike in the second frame. And we'll try to match it up with our winning bowler. We had a winner last week where the card we drew called for 3 pins to be felled by the bowler, and Chris Sargent accommodated our viewer at home. And so you can be part of it by sending in your postcard.
Took a lot of skill to pick 3 pins out of a rack of 10, Dick, but that's what I love about the new twist, which was suggested by a viewer.
If we can get that address up on the screen again, we'll talk about it as Chris Sargent has a 10 box. You can send your bonus ball to Leda Lanes, 340 Amherst Street in Nashua. And they will be happy to put the card in the bin. Eight box for Chris Sargent. So he opens with a couple of open frames. And Steve Renaud has a chance to pick up some ground. He's working on a strike. Look at this. Throw a pretty good ball and look what you're rewarded with. The 7 and the 10 with some wood.
Yeah, the wood's going to be helpful here. He's trying to figure out the angle, doing the geometry.
Side to side, back to back. He looks at, could have hit the right side, and that wood is angled on the left to help him out. That's what he's going to try to do. He's not going to make it, though.
So he'll fill his second frame strike with 9, 29 through 2 frames.
So he's picked up 11 pins, and that's a 9 box.
We have a terrific audience with us every week, including today Rob Devlin from Arlington, Mass. Big fan of our show is here. Thanks for being here today, Rob. Hope you're enjoying your front row seat here at Candlepin Stars and Strikes. We're happy to have you here at Leda Lanes. We should let folks know our next taping will be Tuesday the 11th of November. Tuesday the 11th.
Veterans Day.
Veterans Day, that's true.
Which may make it available to some people who otherwise might not be able to get here. Nice shot by Steve Renaud. He played the wood on that one, and he made the spare. He really went wide on that shot to pick up the spare. Watch it again. Watch the wood way to the right. That's where he went. He played it well. Well done by Steve Renaud.
We have a pin in the left gutter for Sargent disposing of.
And has to reset it because it popped up and knocked over a few pins. Chris Sargent on lane 34. He's going to have a tough shot. He's got the 2-4-7 on the left, the 10 on the right. There's a piece of wood in front of the 2-pin now rolling away from the 2-pin. Chris Sargent trying to direct it. It's coming off. He wants it to go back to the pin, but it's coming off. Now it's going to start rolling back the other way. If it would turn a couple more times, Chris would like it. Now it's kind of just sitting still. Looks like that's where it's going to rest.
But he's got to use it. If anything, he might lose the 10-pin because the ball could ricochet around it but take out the other 3.
He went all the way around it. He missed the pin. He just tried to, he was a little too fine trying to make the shot. 8 box.
Chris and Christy have a 3-week-old baby at home. Congratulations, Corey William Moore, born on the 13th of October. A new family and another Sargent bowler to be. There's the 4 horsemen on the left side. Looking for his first spare or strike this game.
Missed it. Missed the head pin. Turned his back on the pins as soon as he let the ball go. He knew he had missed the shot. And it'll be a 9 box for Chris Sargent. We go to break. Steve Renaud comes back working on a mark when we continue from Leda Lanes in Nashua on WNDS TV's Candlepin Stars and Stripes. Steve Renaud is working on a spare as we come back to action at Leda Lanes. Dick Lutz with Mike Morin and our entire WNDS TV crew making it possible for you to watch the best Candlepin bowlers in the world. Didn't throw a good ball filling that spare, and he puts 5 pins in. Kevin LaFawn's our director. Kevin Sheehan's on graphics. Jonathan Baraz is on replay. Alex Kalistoff is on audio. Keith Webb is our engineer, and our camera crew of David Lawyer, Larry Haber, and Matt DiFilippo make it all possible for you to enjoy Candlepin Stars and Strikes each and every week on WNDS TV. Crossed over to the Brooklyn side that time and left the 5-pin. We had an email, Mike, and it's in the stack of emails that I have, but it was a very simple question. I just won't be able to attribute the writer, but the question is, where did the term kingpin come from? The 5-pin is the kingpin.
Kingpin is the 5-pin.
Where did it
It's a very good question. That I don't have an answer to. Perhaps somebody can ask Jeeves on their computer and send us the information, unless I happen to think of it. The kingpin. Well, there's a mess for Chris Sargent going for the right side. Got a cluster over on the left, plus still 1 pin on the right side.
Well, that like cluster on the left is off spot, isn't it?
Sure is. It's the 4-pin that's smushed in toward the 5.
He'll take a 9 box. If you would like to send us an email and have some more difficult questions like the origination of the kingpin, there's the address, bowling@WNDS.com. We'd love to hear from you. Emails really have been stacking up. We got a bunch of them to get to. We'll try to get to a couple today, and some more cards and letters, as we've got a whole bunch that have been accumulating.
And we thank you for taking the time not only to watch, but to communicate with us as well.
Chris Sargent will be open through 6 frames of the 2nd string.
Number 3 bowler on the WCBC last year. He had a good year. Didn't win any tournaments, but he was consistently right up near the top.
He had 7 marks in the 1st string. He has 0 marks through 6 boxes of the 2nd string.
You mentioned Steve Renaud launching a local access cable TV show for kids, a bowling show in Central Mass. Can be seen on Channel 13 in Southbridge, and I'm not sure about adjoining communities. It's a doubles format. They've actually got a website that you can check out and get more information. It's called Candlepin for Kids, candlepinforkids.com.
Tough shot here. The back row still standing, and
you can see what he was trying to do.
Clipped the edge of that wood on the right and knocked the ball over to the left.
Plus, there was wood behind that piece of wood in the front.
And he has to settle for an 8 box.
Well, he had a nice 24-pin lead in this game to whittle down that earlier lead of 39 pins. He may let Chris Sargent back in this match if he doesn't get back with a couple of marks. Chris does not have a spare to strike this game.
There's the 5-pin again.
Steve's 12-year-old son, Steven, is a pretty good bowler himself with a 100 average. As a spare pops up there for Reno. He won the Mass State All Events in his age group last year, about a 100 average. Congratulations to Stephen Renaud, son of Steve.
We could have a real tight match if Chris Sargent doesn't mark here, as Chris had a 39-pin lead after 1. That's all but dissipated, and he picks up 2 pins, the 1 and the 9. We've talked about that before. We've seen it happen a few times. You couldn't do it if you tried. Open again.
He was cruising 166 his last string last week, 156 to start today's match, but this game is a tough one.
That's going to be an 8-box. This match is getting tight. I never would have believed it if you told me that he'd give up all 39 pins.
You're right. The way he was going.
And look at this. He throws a pretty good first ball, and he's got the 5, 7, 10 with some wood.
Wood isn't great, but at least it's something to work with. Otherwise, that's an almost unmakeable split.
And he hits the 5 and leaves the 7 and 10 and turns around and grins. You go from a 156 first string, and he's going to have trouble breaking 100 in the second string.
71 through 8. Very un-Sargent-like.
Well, he's given back 25 pins, plus whatever Steve Renaud gets on this ball. Oh, Steve's not able to take advantage. He only puts a 5 in the spare. So the match lead is down to 9.
Back in the old days of Channel 5, when they had a Candlepin bowling show, Steve Renaud twice bowled on the True Value Championship, which was their equivalent to our Tournament of Champions. In 1989 and 1990, he made back-to-back appearances.
Our bonus ball contest, of course, we try to give away the cash, but if we don't give away the cash, we give away a consolation prize from N&R Trophy, Winchendon, Massachusetts. Steve Renaud. This time the 5-pin will go, leaving the 7-pin standing. There's your address for N&R Trophy and the phone number 978-297-0712. Renaud will make the spare. He's at 118 plus the ball. And depending on what Chris Sargent does in his final 2 frames, we could be virtually even going into the 3rd string.
We have $625 if one of our bowlers can throw 3 strikes in a row.
Renaud finishes with a strike in the spare and a 128 second string for Steve Renaud. Watch it again, the 7 and the 8, the last to go. Now Chris Sargent with some work to do. At a 39-pin lead after 1. This is a makeable spare. He's looking for his first mark in the 2nd string. Picked it off. It's been that kind of a string. He picks the 2 off the 5, leaves the 5-pin standing. He will be open. A 10 box. He has 81, needs a mark 9 to get to 100. This is after a 156 first string.
Won this year's Easter Sunday tournament at Leda Lanes. That's a $5,000 first prize. He's also won it in 2000 and 2001, so he's kind of dominated that tournament this decade, this century, this millennium, winning it 3 of the last 4 years at $5 grand a pop.
Missed the spare. He is at 89 right now. It'll be a 90 second. No, it'll be an 89 second string. It's been that kind of a string. You didn't even make that one. 89 second string. And we are tied going to the 3rd string. The 39-pin lead that Chris Sargent had after 1 is gone. Steve Renaud, a 128 to Chris Sargent's 89 in the 2nd string. We're dead even going to string number 3 when we come back to Leda Lanes in Nashua for Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV. Chris Sargent will be first to bowl in the 3rd string. We're back where we started.
Interesting stat. Last week, Dick, after 2, he had 245. This week, after 2 games, 245. But last week, big finish with a 166.
Well, he starts out here with a makeable spare. He went the entire 2nd string without a mark. An 89. Still without a mark.
Well, the wood was quite a bit out in front of the pins, and it was also at a bad angle.
And you wonder why he's going to take up golf.
Heading down to Florida for the winter to enjoy that. Close to a scratch golfer. Last week, Eric Pelletier, a 6 handicap golfer. And Dick, you're in that neighborhood, aren't you?
I'm in the neighborhood. But it's a very big neighborhood.
I see.
Chris with a tough shot here. Missed the spare. He's gone 12, 13, let's see, 12 boxes in a row without a mark. Marked it in the last box of the first ring. That'll be a 9 box. So the door is open now for Steve Renaud to take charge of this match.
A runner-up today gets $375, and next week the winner gets to play Bruno DeFeo. 2 weeks from today, John Winchell, he's our top bowler, at 7:03 in the qualifying roll-offs.
Well, Steve threw a good ball in the pocket, but he has a split to show for it. Not going to get it. Gave it a good run. We've made reference a couple of times to the old Channel 5 show, and there was a note on candlepincorner.com when I was on it last night that it was October 4th, 1958, 45 years ago in October, at the first show with Jim Britt, aired on Channel 5. Don Gillis took over in 1959.
It's funny, you mentioned Don Gillis, Dick. I got an email from somebody just recently asking how old Don Gillis is. And I can't answer that. I don't know.
So Steve will be open for the first 2. Steve Renaud with a 1-pin lead with 8 boxes to go.
Just a couple of weeks ago, Lita Lanes hosted the WCBC Monthly Pro Tour. Dick O'Connell was the winner, followed by Gary Duffett, who's been on the show. Chris Grimes was 3rd, John Lang 4th. And Sean Baker, a frequent bowler on our program, came in 5th. Steve Platt, who you saw in the last ladder series, came in 7th. Our good friend Mike Morgan in 9th. And Gary Carrington tying for 10th. High single in that particular tournament, Jeff Bugia with a 184. For the women, Richie Justice was the winner. Joanne Rosano came in 2nd. Johnny Brown, Janet Pock, and Iris Libertini rounding out the top 5 at Lita Lanes back in October.
Chris Sargent cannot buy a mark. 29 through 3. Joe Smith from Woburn, Massachusetts sent me a nice email. He used to be a pin setter back in the days. 3 cents a string he used to get.
3 cents a string. Wow.
Chris Sargent is just absolutely talking to himself. Hand over heart coming back.
Yet this match is almost dead even.
10 box for Chris. 14 boxes in a row without a mark.
So who's going to break out first, Dick, and put about 4 or 5 marks together is the question. Held onto it just a bit too long, and it crossed his body way over to the left-hand side. The 1-3-8-10 for Steve Renaud, Southbridge.
Bob Barzilay from Bridgewater, Massachusetts sent me an email. He's been watching Candlepin bowling since he was 4 years old. He's 44 now. That's quick arithmetic, 40 years of watching Candlepin bowling, as we have a 7 box for Steve Renaud. Neither one of these bowlers wants to win, it looks like right now.
And Chris Sargent has recaptured the league, barring a mark for Steve Renaud here in the 4th box.
Bob Barzilay stopped by an antique store in Maine and picked up some antique pins. He emailed me. He sent the attachment of the photos of them, which I couldn't bring with me, but they were unique.
Of course, wood back in those days.
They were sold as wooden clubs. The antique store owner didn't know what they were. They were candle pins.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I wonder what he paid for them, what kind of condition they were. How did they look in the picture?
Pretty good. 10 box for Steve Renaud. The lead belongs to Chris Sargent by 3 as we head to the break. We continue from Lita Lanes in Nashua on WNDS TV's Candlepin Stars and Stripes. This is the correct score. We missed a pin last time we went, and we want to make sure you are correct with the score. It's a 2-pin lead for Chris Sargent over Steve Renaud with 6 boxes remaining. Chris Sargent breaks up the split, gets them all to go except for the last one. And Chris is rooting for that one to fall, but it's not going to. Lots of wood in front of it. Could this be the first mark in 15 boxes for Chris Sargent? He's down checking it out, trying to find out how far out from that 8-pin is the dead wood. Oh, look. Oh, he got it on the rebound. I was just about to say he missed the shot, but the ball came flying off the back wall and took it down.
Time to string a few together now.
He missed the head pin. Put 6 in the mark.
Not really great wood for this 3, 6, 7, 10 leave.
Oh, that wood went flying around the 7-pin. Just missed it. It went flying around it. And a 10 box. So Steve Renaud needs a mark to recapture the lead.
Makes his living as a inspector at La Valley Machine in Southbridge, town in which he lives with his wife of 13 years, Kathy. Three, 6, 8, 10. Make that the
Oh, it went around it. Oh, so close. Bob Mazzadri of Holliston, Mass. writes, I believe I heard you say that the 4, 6, 7, 10 combination is called a double pinochle. If that's correct, why isn't the 4, 7 or 6, 10 called a simple pinochle? You can say that's a pinochle right side for the 6, 10 or a pinochle left for the 4, 7. Michael, you're the expert on that one.
Well, I don't know the history of all these names like kingpin and double pinochle and diamond and triangle, 4 horsemen. And I think those stories will be very difficult to substantiate, because I think a lot of people probably, there's a lot of folklore in the naming of various configurations of the pins. I don't think anybody was writing it down back then. You know, Mabel said on this day in 1894 that...
shot here for Steve Renaud. Playing the wood. Got the spare. Bounced it off the pin and the ball took it. That's one you just don't plan on, the ball jumping over the pin like that to take out the 7-pin. Again, we're even. Virtually even. Chris Sargent will be open. It will be a 9 box. He needs to mark and put a little pressure on Steve Renaud. Can he break up the split? He cannot. The 7 and 10. 2 pieces of wood sit on the deck.
Say that's good wood, wouldn't you?
He's got to bounce that ball right to the 7-pin. Will it go? No, I guess not. Look at Chris.
He thought it was good.
Now he's got the 7 and 10 with no wood. And that will be an 8 box. It went into the gutter first. The door wide open for Steve Renaud. If he tie the match box to box. Five. Oh, that's a good out with a 9-pin out for Steve Renaud.
Needs a mark now to take the lead after 8 boxes into the final few frames.
3 pins separate the bowlers box to box. He's up against an 8 box. It's the 5, 7, 10.
I think he likes the wood, though.
Well, he has no choice.
Angled to the left of the object pin, which is the 5.
Got to play that left part of the left wood of the only piece of wood that's there. He's going right at the wood. Nope, not going to go. So Sargent will have the lead going to the final couple of boxes.
By just a pin or two?
It's 3 pins right now, depending on what Steve does, so it's 2 pins.
Wow.
2-pin lead for...
Who wants the match?
Chris Sargent right on the head pin and right straight through. Spread eagle +1. The 9-pin is behind the 3-pin. Take 1.
He had 411 last week. He'll come up 50, 60 pins shy of that this week.
That's a 5 box for Chris Sargent at a very inopportune time. Right on the head pin again. Can he break up the split? He cannot. He's got a tough shot. He's got the 2 and 4 on the left, the 6 and 10 on the right with a piece of wood. Not going to make the shot. So he'll finish with a couple of open frames, and the door is open for Steve Renaud,
who won't even need a mark to win.
$95. Steve Renaud needs 15 pins to tie, 16 pins to win the match. Four horsemen left side. Richard Monroe from Watertown emailed, "I always enjoy watching your program. Thank you very much, Richard. Nice to hear from you." There's the spare, and there's the match. Steve Renaud with the spare. Four horsemen left side. He put the ball right between the 1 and the 2. Now we're officially over. 5. Steve Renaud will eke out a win. 104 third string, a 9-pin win for Steve Renaud over Chris Sargent, as Renaud will advance and climb up the ladder to take on Bruno DeFeo next week. We'll come back to talk to our bowlers when we return to Leda Lanes in Nashua for Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV.
Steve Renaud defeats Chris Sargent. Final score 349 to 340. Chris Sargent said, "I'll bet you're going to ask me about the 89 string when I come up here." What about that 89 string?
What 89 string? I forgot about it already. Yeah, I was hitting the head pin. I just couldn't do anything. So it happens.
How does it go? You know, we talked about this so many times in the past. You had a, what, 156 in the first string, and then you couldn't buy a mark. You went 14 boxes in a row without a mark. It's remarkable.
Yeah, well, I wanted to take the last 2 strings and add them up to beat the first string, so I did that just barely.
What do you do during the course of the match to try to adjust, to try to get back to the head pin and the success that you had in the first string?
Well, not too much. You know, I just moved up a little, moved back a little, but I was hitting the head pin, and the pins just weren't going. I mean, there's not much I can do with that.
Well, we know that that you're heading down to Florida at some point for the winter. Will you be coming up to attempt to make a few more of these ladders and torture yourself some more?
Well, I kind of hope not, because that means I'm doing good in golf. But yeah, if I'm up, I'm going to try it.
You know, we spoke very briefly about golf. You're pretty close to scratch, right? You've taken up the game rather recently.
Yeah, I've been doing it for about 4 summers, and I just started really playing a lot now. So we're going to try something different.
Well, that's hand out the money. Hand out the money. We have $375 runner-up money. We have $50 in bonus money, another $50 to have in the high string of the match. Have fun in Florida. We'll see you soon. Chris Sargent, our runner-up here this afternoon. That's the bonus ball contest. Mike's going to reach into the bin and pull out a card, and then Steve Renaud will try to match it up and see if we can give away some more money. We gave away $20 last week. We're back to $10, starting it up all over again. This is Billy Cook from Manchester, New Hampshire. Billy wants a 7. Steve, can you give us a 7? Let's see. Steve Renaud. Can't do it. A deuce. Half Worcester. To a consolation prize from N&R Trophies in Winchendon, Massachusetts for Billy Cook from Somerville Street in Manchester, New Hampshire. We'll have the consolation prize to you. Had him all the way, huh?
Yeah, I was real lucky. Chris, to me, in my opinion, is one of the top 1 or 2 or maybe 3 best bowlers in the game. I was very lucky to win with a 350. It wasn't even that. What was it? 349. Yeah, I was very lucky, but I'll take it. I've been scratching and clawing at this game for quite a few years now just to get back involved and be able to compete against guys like Chris, and I'll take that win, no matter what the score was.
You are involved in a project in your town of Southbridge, putting kids on television with Candlepin bowling. It's been way too long since kids have had a chance to get a little exposure. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, October 26th at the American Lanes in Southbridge, we'll have our first taping with kids ages 8 through 18 competing in a doubles format, boy-girl. And we'll be giving them various prizes based on their shot making and pinning and consecutive marks, gift certificates to malls and pizzas and stuff like that. Should be real interesting for them, and it's going to be very exciting for me because I'm really looking forward to watching all these young bowlers come up in the game. I expect to see some really great bowling, and I wish the best of luck to all of them. I'm looking forward to meeting all these young fine bowlers.
Well, thanks for doing that. Back when there was Candlepin bowling for kids on TV, were you ever on that show?
No, I remember watching it when I was very, very young, but when I started bowling, I think that's about when it went off the air. But I do remember watching some of those matches many years ago.
Well, Steve, congratulations. A 349 to 340 win over Chris Sargent.
Next week. Okay.
Up the ladder we go. Another rung next week.
Yes. Bruno DeFeo will be here. John Mitchell in 2 weeks.
That's it for this afternoon. Thanks for watching, everybody. From Mike Morin and our entire WNDS TV crew, I'm Dick Lutz. We'll see you next time on WNDS TV's Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Remember, when you and your friends are looking for something to do, let's go bowling. See you next time.